Good morning, everyone. Today's plan of surgery is a lower body lift. Our patient has had previous liposuction of her thighs and comes from out of state. Locally, she did liposuction of her outer thighs, which have created these contour irregularities and areas of depression. And at the same time, she's lost her feminine form and physique. On the other side, they have left too much fat on the thigh front and the thigh back, which needs to be liposuction. If you pinch the skin, you can kind of determine how much excess fat you have. And in these areas, we have about 2 inches, and in these areas, we have about ½ an inch. So the fat distribution on her thighs have been altered, and it has made her more linear looking rather than more of an hourglass look. So our plan, and at the same time, it has created skin laxity and unevenness. So our plan would be to liposuction the front of her thighs, transfer some of that fat into the outer thighs and outer buttock to change the shape of her butt and make it more of a wider, more feminine butt, create a little bit of hips for her, and fill these areas that have been over liposuctioned. We are going to be doing liposhifting here, and liposhifting is essentially using a power-assisted liposuction to kind of loosen up all of these tissues with the vibration of the power-assisted liposuction, so that the tissues are looser and I can put fat in there, and the fat can kind of seep to other areas and make a smoother contour. In the front, we're going to be removing fat. In the back, we're going to be removing fat, and we're going to be utilizing that for the augmentation. For the skin laxity, we're going to be doing a lower body lift. Her incision is going to be super low. This is her C-section incision, so we're going to go below that, remove that, and then come on the front of the thighs and then the outer thighs. And our upper incision for her tummy is going to be here. Her navel is super high, with about 1/3 of her abdomen above the navel and 2/3 below it. So what we're going to do is to cut her here and remove all this excess skin, lift the abdominal skin and fat. She's got a hernia here. Fix her umbilical hernia, and then float the navel down to here and resuture it, so that her navel will be at the midpoint of her abdomen, probably slightly lower, and removing all of that excess skin. And as we do that, we're going to lift her thighs, we're going to liposuction her waist and these areas to kind of create a more defined abdomen. And we're going to do a high definition tummy tuck. On the sides, we're going to be liposuctioning her flanks. And as I said, on the back, we're going to be liposuctioning the thighs. These areas have been liposuctioned. In the process, they've created these deep creases, and unfortunately there isn't really much I can do to correct those, but they have also left still some fat, which we'll be liposuctioning today. And then we're going to be doing a buttock lift. She's got a good volume to her buttocks, so she doesn't need buttock enhancement. So essentially we're going to be removing a portion of the upper butt, about this much, and lower back skin, about this much. So 1.5 inches of each. As a result, she's going to get a buttock lift and a buttock reduction. Every buttock lift is a butt reduction. So we are essentially reducing her butt a tad as we are lifting it, and that's what she wants. And then we're going to be putting a little bit of fat in these dimples to soften them up. And as you can appreciate, she's got a nice butt this way, but not much this way. So we're going to really make this more of a rounder form, horizontally and vertically. And that should conclude our surgery.
So we are now done with the back side. This included a buttock lift with a butt reduction, buttock fat reshaping, increasing her butt width, and filling out the lateral, which are the outer butt, with fat, so that she's got more of an hourglass look. Liposuction of her flanks and waist, and liposuction of the back of the thighs, which had a good amount of fat left following her previous liposuction. I also liposhifted, which is using a power-assisted liposuction to mobilize the fat on her outer thighs and filled the outer thighs with fat. And I also made communication between the back of the thighs internally and the outer thighs so the fat can migrate and mobilize, and hopefully we can end up with one uniform fatty layer. And this is her oblique view, which is essentially the best view in the house. This is where you can appreciate the sense of the three-dimensional sculpting, whereby the patient's waistline has been improved and her buttock projection has been enhanced. So now she has a nice buttock, not only in terms of roundness horizontally or from the top, but also roundness and perfection that has been reshaped into her buttocks to create a side profile that is round and projected appropriately. Also, we filled out the outer thighs. These are these areas that had concavities and depression on both sides. I also performed lipo shifting of the fat between the back of the thighs and the outer thighs so that these areas and fatty layers can merge to one another and therefore prevent that distinction that was noted pre-operatively. She's bruised, but she looks really, really amazing. So we are at the end of our case, and just look at that beautifully sculpted high definition tummy tuck. Her abdomen looks stunning, sculpted, defined, and toned after the liposculpture, and her tummy tuck. In the process of her tummy tuck, I floated the navel, which means detached the navel from the muscle and brought it lower because her navel was too high. And by doing that, I was able to tighten her abdominal muscles all the way from the top to the bottom, because she did have a lot of abdominal muscle separation, especially in the lower half of her abdomen. We also liposuctioned her waist and created that beautiful concavity. I spent a long time liposuctioning the thighs, and she is somewhat bruised as a result, and liposhifting the fat so that the fat can transverse from the front to the sides and fill the outer sides, and to end up with correction of the outer thighs, because as you may remember, the outer thighs were concave as a result of her previous liposuction. So we placed fat in these two areas on both sides and liposhifted the front and the outer thighs to obtain a uniform fat distribution over the thighs, so that the outer thighs, the front and the back of the thighs now have a uniform layer of fat in terms of thickness and contour. Just a perfect result.